Hey guys, Shangi here, and welcome to the second episode of the Beginner Guide series that is on my channel. This episode is going to be about gear, and we're going to be explaining sort of what gear you should look for and what units, or how to gear your units and so forth. So to begin with, let's go ahead and do a basic overview of gear. Gear is something that is dropped both from story and can also be dropped from new challenges. What it is it's something that you put on your characters to not only increase their CP, but also to increase their stats. With the certain right gear that you put on your units, it can really make them better and push you through the adventure stages, which is a huge part. Gear is also used in PvP, and we'll get into PvP sets a bit later. One thing you're going to want to understand though is that gear, there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of time it takes to go ahead and get good sets of gear. I recently just got into the stages where I can grind for level 6 gear, which took me longer than I would have liked, but I kind of took a break, but grinding for gear at this point is probably the best way to get it. There's also crafting, and there's also, as I said, there's other ways through challenges and such, but those aren't always the best ways. There are a couple different types of gear. We have strike weapons, which come in 3 variants: the double-handed, that's the single-handed sword, the double-handed sword, two-handed, or the melee weapons, which is knuckles. These are meant primarily for tanks, dealers, and tanks and some sword dealers. Pierce weapons are meant only for dealers, damage dealers, or DPS. So you have the ranged one, which is the gun and such, and then the bow. Then you have the spear, and then you have the dagger. Then there's the magical weapons, which is also meant for DPS and support. So you have a wand, an orb, and a staff. Then you have a substitute. This is just an extra, basically what you could consider a second-hand weapon. So you have the sub-weapon. Then you have the epic source, which is mages. Or this is magic. This one is whatchamacallit, spear users, ranged users, and dagger users. This one's support and mages. And then this one is dealers and tanks. Then you have plate armor, which is meant for dealers and tanks, which is in the same class as the strike weapon, and then the shields for the substitute. Leather armor is for the DPS, and cloth armor is for magic and support. So those are the basic different types of armor or gear. And then from there, it goes even deeper into substats, which come a bit later on in the game when you start to get purple and blues, which are the best and what you should always strive for. If you're at an early stage of the game, I would just go ahead and push all the way up until you can grind for blues. And if you get stumped while you have the ability to get blues, make sure to gear all your units with blue gear, and then move on, and then so forth. Always make sure to replace your armor with the best it can be, and that will make sure you can always push forward into the game. But as for substats, there are a lot of different substats. So let's click on the cloth armor, for example. Here it has HP, damage reduction, or reduced damage, and evasion. So evasion, reduced damage, and HP are all great things for tanks. The HP stat is, as it sounds, hit points. Reduced damage is pretty obvious. It reduces the amount of damage you take. And evade, which is the evasion, so whether or not the attack has a chance to miss, and so forth. Here there's C-res, which I believe is crit resistance, and then normal resistance, which is magic damage. So it's the defense equivalent of magic damage. Or it's the magic damage equivalent of defense. Which defense is physical attacks, and magic is the magic attacks, obviously. So here, yeah, it has defense, C-res, and then recovery, which is the stat. Recovery is a stat that increases the amount of healing you get from a support type unit. And then here we have HP, damage reduce, and then crit resistance. Is there any one that shows heal? I don't think heal is on there. Let's see. That's recovery. Do you have heal on here? There we go, heal. Heal stat is the stat you want to put on your support units, but that's later when you have good enough attack on your healer, which is like 1,000. Then you can go ahead and start worrying about your heal, which increases the amount of healing your unit does. So yeah, and then the obvious. Okay, we'll just stay on here. The greens. Actually, we'll not get to the green ones. So let's move to here. So damage is the amount of damage it does. It increases the amount of damage your unit can output, just like basically. And then attack is basically the same thing, but it's the base amount of damage you do. So whereas damage is a percentage, attack is basically just the initial amount you do, and then damage increases that, I believe. And then crit damage, or C damage, is obviously crit damage. Here, accuracy is the amount, or is how, like, is whether or not, I think it works with the evade stat, so it's like the opposite of the evade stat. But I don't know, because I know there's debuffs, so it might be for putting on debuffs, or it might be, evasion might be for debuffs. I'm not 100% so don't at me on that. And then crit is obviously for criticals. Is there any other stat that I haven't gone over? Oh, there's knockback. There's knockback resistance and knockback chance, which just means whether or not your unit will knock them back and stuff. It's pretty straightforward. But that's all the subs, and then there's further subs through enchanting. So enchanting is what you get from the Dark's Village daily thing, and also from grinding missions. Scrolls can go ahead and give these extra green stats, as you can see, which you want to make sure you have on your units at all times. You want to save your godlike scrolls and try and use your superior to inferior scrolls to try and get the best substats you can get. What I've noticed is the best for HP is 300 and the best for attack is 25. I haven't really looked into any of the other ones because that's all I'm really looking at is attack and the the HP one, because HP is great for your healers, or not healers, sorry. Attack is great for your healers and damage dealers, and HP is great for your tanks. So that's what you want to look for. And godlike scrolls. Godlike scrolls give substats. So I know a lot of other gacha games have substats already placed onto their units. But with this game, you need to use godlike scrolls to attach substats to your units. So as you can see here with my Hirachi, he has the Bless set, which gives him reduced damage and recovery, or increased recovery, which is perfect for tanks. So as you can see, this is a 3 set, which means 3 pieces of gear on Hirachi has Bless. And then when it says the 5 set, that means 5 pieces of gear on Hirachi has the Bless set. So that's one of them is Bless. The next is Death, which is crit and crit damage, which is, I think, would probably be best suited for knife units like No Name. And then, shoot, did I take it off her? Okay, the next one is Combat Set, which is just innate damage, and then Crowd Control Resistance, which is, I think, wait, is that Crowd Control? I feel like that's Crowd Control Resistance, which is Knockback? That one's hard. I'm not sure if that's knockback or if that's debuffs, and then accuracy is about hitting. There's a lot in this. So, oh, and then there's attack S, which is the amount of times your unit can attack in 1 second. So that's also another one. I actually could have just looked here, seen all of them. So yeah, we have, actually, you don't get to see all of them, because range is another one that doesn't really get increased. Well, let's just say there's a lot of substats that you need to look out for. I mean, the main ones you want to look out for, though, are attack, HP, and damage reduction, recovery, and heal. But I'll just go into that more later. But yeah, so there's combat, death, bless, and then I believe I have it on you. There's a magic-based one, which goes ahead and gives MP back. Do I not have it on any of these units? Oh, I must have replaced it, because there is one that goes ahead and gives you MP back. I can't remember the name of it. Do I seriously not have it on any of these units? Destiny, there it is. The Destiny set. So that's the one that goes ahead and increases the attacks per second. And then MP per second is for your special move. So the amount of times you can use your special move. So the special move for Suahan is the Bless of Wealth, and then Healing Light generates MP. So each time, or each second, that means if you have a full Destiny set, you'll be getting 3 MP every second. And so, yeah. And then with this one, that means you could get Bless of Wealth quicker. So that's Enchanting, and that was substats, as well as gear, and kind of what to look for. That's not all, though. It wasn't recently. I was planning to make this as soon as Tier 6 crafting came out, but I kind of didn't really do that, as you can tell. So Tier 6 there's also different tiers of gear. You have Tier 1, Tier 1, which is this kind of gear. It has one substat, which is green usually, which gives you one substat. Then you have Tier 2, which is, at least for crafting, is usually only green, or which is only green. Then you have Tier 3, which is the blue gear, and I think it comes up later in the story. Obviously it comes up later in the story, it's not at the start. Then you have Tier 4, then you have Tier 5, and you have Tier 6. These tiers, what it means is for the basic stat, which there's or the main stat, not the substat, which is like HP reduction, HP recovery, and stuff. The main stat is different for each type of gear. So with things like armor, you go ahead and have the HP. Then for helmets, you have defense and resistance. And then for substitutes, you have defense, resistance, you have attack, and attack. And then for magical weapons, you have attack, obviously, pierce weapons attack, and strike weapons attack. That's the main stats, and each tier of gear goes ahead and increases the main stat. And then we have rarity, which is common, uncommon, rare, and then epic, which is purple. Then uncommon is green, rare is blue, and then common is gray. Those also affect the main stat, I believe. Or no, wait, I think that, yeah, it does affect the main stat, right? Let's check right here. Oh, not there. Here. So, yeah, it does affect the main stat. So it does affect the main stat. And also, it affects the amount of times you can enhance the piece of gear. And then, on top of all of that, there are different types of gear that you can get through crafting. Superior, which is the best, and it has the best main stats. Then there is this gray one, which I think is great. Yeah, great, which is the second best, and it just gives you what you could get from grinding. Then there is, I think, uncommon, which is a gray sort of hint, or like gray little dot thingy. Do I have it on any of these units? There we go. Oh, it's fine. Fine is this little copper kind of thing, which has a reduction in main stat, and then you have the poor, which is the lowest of the main stat. The only reason I have some poor gear is because I'm not willing to spend my arena tickets or tokens on getting these accessories, which is another thing, another set of gear I forgot to talk about. So there is accessories, which is another thing. So as you can tell over here, there is accessories. There is no option to reinforce / enhance. So that means whatever you have as your main stat is what you're going to get, and you need to work around that. When it comes to accessories, what you're really looking for is substats. And you want to enchant your accessories because your main stat, which is going to be a percentage always, is not what you're looking for, and you always want to have it better. So there's accessories as well. There we go. So yeah, I completely lost my train of thought, but that's pretty much the basics of gear. I can expand further a little bit, talk about grinding as well as what you want to look for on units. So I will do that. As for grinding, each different stage, as I had said earlier, will give you a different tier. So the further you go in the story, the better the gear you're going to get. So let's go ahead and look at something like the Black Magic Tower, which is the first place you go to. Here, as you can tell, it only has tier 1s, and it can drop accessories, which is cool. The accessories always aren't that great, but drops accessories early on. Tier 1, it can only believe green. When you start to get up into getting purples is around 5, I believe, which is up here. No, that's 6. Oh my god, I don't know the stages. 5, 4. Oh, 5, 4 you can get purples. I believe maybe it's 5, 1 that gives you purples. Is this one 5? Oh no, that's 6. Here, this is also 6. Is this 5 or is this 6? This is 5, 5. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it gives you purples here, as we can tell, because it already gave you at 5, 4. Cobalt Tower, 4-5. Oh, 4-5 gives you only purples of tier 4. Okay, or it gives you only greens to blues in tier 4. I'm just joggling my memory as well here. So there, it drops there, and then let's just skip all the way over to where I'm currently at, which is one of the higher stages. And as you can tell, it drops tier 6 gear, as well as God Scrolls and Superior Scrolls, as well as the accessories this stage drops. So each stage, once you beat it, will also drop a different set of gear. As you're going through the story, it's going to have available rewards that show up. Once you beat the stage, it will give you a set one that you can redo to grind for the accessories. So, yes. And, I would say go ahead and get up as far as you can. If you can't beat it, then stop and grind a stage, the closest stage you can beat. Get as high tier of gear as you can from there, and attempt the next stage. If that doesn't cut it, grind for more gold, grind to go ahead and get a bunch of stuff, and attempt again. This game is a lot of grinding for gear and a lot of grinding to upgrade said gear. Because while units are good and they will help you move forward, they're not going to cut it in the long run. You definitely need gear. So there we go. Now for what you want to look for on certain units. So we have it here. As you can tell, I have all 3 of the tanks. Let's just go here. I have all 3 of the tanks. Now, there's a lot of different factors that go into what you want to have on a unit. For example, with Sora, her 3rd skill, it deals attack and it heals the hero's HP, or based on the HP stat. Also heals hero's HP by 5% of max HP and increases damage reduction by... Yeah, so here you go. You want to have a high HP on Sora because her 3rd skill will go ahead and increase her healing. Or will increase the healing she gets from using it. So, there we go. Now with a unit like Hirachi, which is obvious, he's a crowd control unit. You have high HP on and a crowd control. So you want to have him take all the damage, maybe have some damage reduction on him, but you want to focus mainly on HP. And with Drip Soup, he is a damage reduction tank. So you want to make sure he has a lot of damage reduction on him, as well as the HP stat. So obviously tanks, you want to primarily focus on HP, and then look further into the unit. So for example, you want to have HP, and then maybe damage reduction. HP, maybe accuracy, and then HP is a main focus for Sora. Drip Soup, DR, and Hirachi, also HP, but you want to look at their skills to see what it is. I have no comment to make on Heart Heater, because I don't have him, and I haven't really seen anything on him, because when he came out was the time I kind of quit. I only came back during the appearance of Pua, which, as you can tell, or well, actually, I came back for Master Swordsman, because he was the one unit I actually really wanted, but that's not who we're talking about here. I'm sorry. Let's go back. So now that we've covered tanks, let's move on to dealers. Dealers, you want to go ahead and look for attack on the unit, and then build upon from there. So obviously the main thing you want to look for in your unit when it comes to subs and enchants is attack. That's for dealers. Now for supports, you want to look for the attack stat as well as the HP stat, or not HP stat, shoot, as well as the heal stat. That's what you want to look for on healers / supports. There we go. I've done the overview and a bit of a more deeper bit deeper input into about the units. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I know with this guide seemed a bit all over the place, and I'm sorry about that, but a lot of not a lot of this, none of this was scripted, and it was kind of just going off of my personal knowledge. So this is not my best attempt, but this is a good attempt at a guide. If you guys need me to go into deeper detail, you can contact me on Discord, which will be in the description, or on Moot, or even just leave a comment. I really appreciate all the people who supported me, even during my time of being gone, and I know that I posted some new content in between then, and I'm just trying to go ahead and just post on this because I enjoy doing YouTube and I enjoy playing games, and so what I enjoy is what I'm probably going to post. And I enjoyed this game a little bit, but not as much as I used to. But I hope you guys enjoy this game. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide that I put out, and from the past one, it seems you guys did. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys all next time.